When the game no longer makes sense, there's something quietly profound that begins to happen when you wake up. And I daren't mean waking up in the morning, after a good night's sleep, though that matters too. I mean waking up in the deeper sense. The kind of awakening where you begin to see through the game, where you recognize the cosmic joke, where you realize that you are not a stranger in this universe, but an essential expression of it. And when this kind of awakening starts to unfold, something unexpected often follows. Your circle of friends begins to shrink, not because you've become cold, antisocial, or difficult, but because you're no longer operating on the same frequency. It's like tuning into a radio station most people can't quite receive. They hear noise where you hear music, and they hear music where you've begun to notice the silence between the notes. Now, let's be very clear about something. This has nothing to do with superiority. A spiritually awake person isn't better than anyone else. Anyone who believes their awakening makes them superior has simply traded one ego game for another, exchanging business cards for prayer beads, but still playing the same game of comparison. So why does awakening so often come with fewer friends? Because most human relationships are built on shared assumptions, on mutual hypnosis. We agree together that Monday mornings are terrible and Friday nights are wonderful. We agree that success means climbing a certain ladder, that security lives in bank accounts and insurance policies, that happiness arrives once we finally get what we want. But awakening loosens these agreements. You begin to see that Monday morning isn't good or bad, it simply is. You notice that the ladder everyone is climbing doesn't actually lead anywhere, because there is nowhere else to go. You're already here. This is it. And that bank account you're building. It's useful, convenient, but it won't protect you from the fundamental uncertainty of being alive. When you try to share these insights with old friends, something interesting happens. They look at you as if you've gone a little mad. And from their perspective, you have. You've stopped playing a game they're still deeply invested in. It's like sitting at a poker table and suddenly announcing that the cards are just cardboard with symbols on them. You're not wrong, but you've ruined the game. Conversations that once sustained your friendships start to feel hollow. A friend complains about their boss, and you can see they're not really angry at their boss. They're resisting reality. A colleague obsesses over their child's future, and you sense the fear is about their own unlived life. A neighbor boasts about a new car, and you recognize it as a quiet plea for significance in an indifferent universe. You could point all of this out. You could try to wake them up, but you learn something very quickly. Nobody wants to be awakened. Even the Buddha said he could only point the way. He couldn't walk the path for anyone else. People cling to their dreams even when those dreams are painful, especially when they're painful. Because at least pain that's familiar feels safe. So you find yourself in a strange position. You're living in the same world as everyone else, but experiencing it differently. Like someone who suddenly realizes the movie they're watching is just light on a screen. You can still enjoy it, maybe even more than before, but you can't quite lose yourself in it the same way. Your friends are still fully absorbed, laughing, crying, cheering, convinced that what's happening on the screen is everything. And you can see both the beauty of the story and the illusion behind it. At some point, authenticity begins to matter more than comfort. And this is where friendships often fall away. Most social interactions are built on pretense. We pretend to be more confident than we are. We pretend to care about things that bore us. We pretend to agree, to understand, to be okay. But awakening drains your appetite for pretending. You no longer have the energy to maintain the mask. When someone asks, "How are you?" you might actually answer honestly, not dramatically, just truthfully. And that honesty makes people uncomfortable, because "how are you" isn't really a question. It's a ritual, and the expected response is "I'm fine." You stop laughing at jokes you don't find funny. You stop nodding along with opinions you don't share. You stop participating in gossip. Not out of moral superiority, but because it feels empty. Like chewing cardboard after tasting real food. And people notice. They notice you're no longer a reliable partner in the usual social games. You also become comfortable with silence. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill it with noise, opinions, weather reports, distractions. But silence is where real connection happens. Silence is where two beings can actually meet without the interference of words. The awakened person discovers that sitting quietly with someone can feel more intimate than hours of small talk. But to many, that silence feels unbearable. Then there's purpose. Your old friends are still chasing goals, running on the treadmill of achievement. Always one promotion away, one purchase away, one milestone away from happiness. But you've seen that happiness isn't waiting at the end of the road. It is the road. This creates a quiet disconnect. Your friend worries about a promotion, and you see that whether they get it or not, they'll still face the same fundamental questions of existence. Nothing will save them, because there's nothing to be saved from. This moment is it, this breath, this strange miracle of being alive. But you can't easily say that, because it sounds like giving up, and that's not what it is. Ambition is fine, careers are fine, they're part of the dance, but not the point. The point is the dancing itself, and try explaining that at a dinner party. At some point, something inside you dies, not physically, but psychologically. The identity you once defended, the story of who you were and where you were going, you see through it. You realize the ego is a useful fiction, like inches or minutes. Helpful, but not real in the way we think. Your friends still identify deeply with their personalities. Their opinions, achievements, failures. An insult wounds them. A compliment inflates them. But you've seen that personality is something you do, not something you are. Like a reflection in a mirror. This creates an authenticity gap. They need an audience for their performance. Validation, agreement. And you can appreciate the performance without believing in it. And then comes a deeper realization. Aloneness is not loneliness. Loneliness is the pain of feeling separate. Aloneness is the recognition that, at the deepest level, you are the whole universe experiencing itself from one point of view. You stop needing friends to complete you. You can enjoy companionship without clinging to it. You can be alone without feeling lonely. Paradoxically, this makes you less attractive to people who need relationships to save them. You also stop participating in tribal games. My country, my party, my team, my religion. You see how these identities divide more than they unite. And society runs on those divisions. When you refuse to demonize the other side or idolize your own, you become unreliable as a tribe member. Your relationship with time changes too. You stop living in the past or racing toward the future. You see that the only time that exists is now. But most conversations revolve around worry, planning, nostalgia. When you're present, you have less to contribute to those exchanges. Solitude begins to feel nourishing. Not as an escape, but as a foundation. You learn that you can't truly meet another until you've met yourself. You also surrender control. You realize the universe has been doing just fine without your management. You relax into the flow instead of fighting it. And because of this, you can't join others in their frantic attempts to control the uncontrollable. You offer presence instead of strategy, acceptance instead of panic. This is often mistaken for not caring, when it's actually the deepest form of care. You see through victim stories, not denying pain or injustice, but recognizing that building an identity around the wound only prolongs suffering. You make peace with death not morbidly, but honestly. And that honesty makes life precious, urgent, alive. Many people avoid this truth, and when you stop avoiding it, your presence becomes unsettling. You remind them of what they're trying not to see. Still, the awakened person isn't cold or detached. They often love more deeply than ever. But it's a different love. Not transactional, not conditional, not rooted in need. It's a love that recognizes the same consciousness, looking through every pair of eyes. And so, they don't preach. They don't convert. They simply live from what they've seen. They may have fewer friends, but the connections they keep are real. And they understand that awakening isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning. They stay humble. They stay curious. They stay awake to the ego's subtle disguises. And perhaps, most importantly, they realize this. Having fewer friends is not a problem to solve. It's simply what happens when you stop playing games you no longer believe in. Because the point was never to collect friends, like trophies. The point is to wake up, to be present, to live honestly, to love without conditions. And if that means spending more time alone, so be it. Because you were never truly alone to begin with. How could you be? You are the universe, experiencing itself, the infinite, wearing the mask of the finite. And once you truly see that, the question of how many friends you have becomes strangely irrelevant.